This video is dedicated to Outlaw. Outlaw, thank you for supporting the EDH channel. Korvold Fakehurst King versus Illuna Apex of Wishes, Muldrotha the Gravetide, and Jegantha the Wellspring. I don't think we can keep that one, that looks way too slow to me, so we will go for the free mulligan into no, I was going to say into no lands, I'm sure, which is usually the case on Magic Online, so let's try again. Alright, that is actually very keepable, so we will keep and get rid of the Zulaport Cutthroat. Preordain coming down on turn 1 from the, I always forget the name, the Illuna player. And then we get into, as much as I'd like to get Field of the Dead, the tap land out of the way, I don't want a lot of attention being drawn towards us, but yeah, we'll still go for a tap land with the Wooded Foothills. And we'll grab a red and a green source with that, I think. Then an Ancient Tomb, followed by a Rhystic Study for the Teamer player. Alright, Dockside Extortionist, yeah, we're nowhere near going for that. I think we want to go for Cultivate on turn 3, so I'm just going to have to forego the fact that our opponents are going to see a Field of the Dead. I know they're automatically going to be scared of Field getting online, so we might immediately get some eyes looking our way, but it's a land and we have to play it, so we'll get it out of the way now. Farseek into the Rhystic Study from the 7 Deadly Sins, who is a patron of the channel, by the way. Just started watching that anime and very much liking it on Netflix. Then we've got Jero the Guru on Muldrotha, and Big Fat Lip playing Illuna, Apex of Wishes, who is an internet random. Jero is a patron of the channel, as well as Sins. Mana Crypt into the Rhystic Study now from the Muldrotha player. It doesn't seem as though taxes are being paid on that so far. Nope, so that's already 2 cards that Rhystic Study has paid for. Followed by Sidisi, Undead Vizier, again into the Rhystic Study and feeding a 3rd card into that. Sidisi can sacrifice herself, so she's a 5 mana shooter with legs basically. Oh wow, and then getting into a Sylvan Library as well, so no shortage of card draw from Illuna. Yeah, I think in that case we are still going to go for the Cultivate. I was debating whether or not to go for Seal of Primordium, but yeah, I'm going to allow my opponents to try and... But yeah, no one else is paying into the tax, and now they've got Sylvan Library for even more cards as well, so I think we just need to try and keep up with our opponents, especially with all the card draw going on here and then the fast mana over here, as well as consistent shooters from Sidisi once the Muldrotha comes down. Yeah, I think we just need to try and keep up. Sisay Weatherlight Captain coming down now, and what are the rules on this? We don't care about Companion because it is the general. It adds 5 colours and you can't spend it on generic mana costs, which obviously doesn't matter with her. Another commander coming down now, we've seen our fair share of these so far, Azuri Claw of Progress. Obviously they're in the 99, not the command zone. And again, paying for the Rhystic tax. Then putting a plus counter on Azuri with the Aurum Reef, the Vastwood. And now over here, it's difficult to tell what's going on with all these weird arts. I can barely read the text either. Lord Drakis. Whenever this creature mutates, return a target instant or sorcery from graveyard to hand. They only have a preordained so far. We get into another land. And I think we want Solemn Simulacrum, so let's go for that. We'll play a land first so that we can pay the tax. And then we will go for a forest because we don't have one of those yet. And I think next turn our Field of the Dead is active. Sword of the Animist now coming down to go on to the Sisay. And that cares about power, I think, doesn't it? Yeah, you can search for something with CMC equal to the power or less. So that gets equipped to Sisay, and then it's a 3/3 going in at the Teamer player. And they'll get to search for a basic land here, but choose not to, curiously. This is a basic, isn't it? You may search for a basic land card and put it in tapped, and they didn't do that. That's very strange. Even in 5-colour decks, I tend to have one of each basic, just in case someone has a, what's it called, Path to Exile or something like that. Anyway, they decide to block with the Drakis. Oh, Panharmonicon. We're seeing some good stuff in the early game here. Panharmonicon coming down from Muldrotha, who will no doubt take advantage of a bunch of ETBs. One of which will be from the Sidisi, so if they've got enough creatures to sacrifice, I think they can exploit multiple times with that. Oh, and then Reclamation Sage comes down. I mean, I would point both of the Reclamation Sages over here, but we might be drawing a card. If they decide to go after Solemn, they may well go after the Sword of the Animist as well. But yeah, I would definitely point them at these two. They do decide to point some removal in the direction of the Teamer player, who still has 9 cards in hand. And they haven't missed any lands yet, so I think they should be okay. Hour of Promise now for Illuna. What have they grabbed? They've got Thespian Stage and Command Tower. And then passing the turn, they will have to discard a card. They get rid of City of Brass. We have a 3 visits there. I was wondering if we want to go in for our commander and a Seal of Primordium, but I don't like the idea of Sisay being able to tutor up an answer immediately. Maybe we just go in for Grave Titan. Yeah, let's try ourselves a Grave Titan. We'll go for Ramp and the Titan this turn. Field of the Dead is now beginning to trigger, so we'll have plenty of sack fodder by the time our commander comes down. It's just a shame that we can't tap the Bloodstained Mire for mana. If we'd sacrificed that with our commander in play, then we could have drawn a card. Let's see, we'll just go for a Tiger there, and then if anyone's got any answers, they'll surely want to point them at Grave Titan. And then we'll hold back our Solemn. It's even less chance of people swinging into us. People don't like to swing into a Solemn Simulacrum. Jegantha coming down now, next to Sisay, who is now a 5/5. No haste on Jegantha, luckily. Otherwise they'd be able to go straight in for a tutor. Sisay is swinging in somewhere, can't see yet. And Sins has since told us that there's no basics in the library, so that's a building error on their part, and they are swinging back in at the Teamer player. And there she is, the infamous Muldrotha the Gravetide, along with a couple of lands and a Sidisi, so getting rid of that Panharmonicon might be a priority of ours, although they can obviously get Panharmonicon out of the bin. Plus counter going on it from the Aurum Reef, and then even more plus counters going on it from Azuri. No Rogue's Passage yet, or any means of making her unblockable, thankfully. Then deciding to sit back with all that power, which is probably a good idea thanks to our Grave Titan. And then just before the end of the turn, playing and cracking the Terramorphic Expanse. Oh dear, and the Illuna player deciding to pass the turnover. It's a good time to bring up actually that we've banned Cyclonic Rift within our play group on the Discord, but this being a random, they may well have Cyclonic Rift in the hand. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they've got more than enough. Let's swing in towards them and try and encourage them into the Cyclonic Rift. Grave Titan obviously triggers there, so I've swung in with everything at them. This is 16 points of damage because I think they've got it. Yeah, there we go. So at least we only have to deal with it once, I hope. Yeah, hopefully they can't just fish it out of the deck every 2 seconds. Well, there we go, Rift going off there, which switches off our Dockside Extortionist. At least they did it in response to the Grave Titan trigger, as opposed to doing it when it had already resolved. Anyhow, let's see what we want to do now. We can go some Simulacrum, and then someone's got an Urborg in place, so we don't have to crack the Verdant Catacombs. So we could go Solemn into our commander whilst everyone's tapped out. I think that's a pretty good idea. And obviously field is continuing to trigger through all this. Yeah, so we play that, we can tap it for mana, and we go in for our Korvold. I want to draw 2 cards, so we'll go after the Solemn Simulacrum with Korvold. Solemn draws us a card when it dies, and Korvold whenever something is sacrificed. We get into Grave Pact and Nim Deathmantle, so Nim Deathmantle and Grave Titan combo off if we can get into Ashnod's Altar. And with a Grave Pact in play as well, that will also keep all the creatures out of play. So Sins, we're all just obviously going to be rebuilding from here. Sins has gone for the Jegantha again. And Muldrotha has been set back a little bit, but we know they've got the Mana Crypt in hand, as well as their commander, so they might just go straight in for their commander here. Yeah, there she is, Muldrotha, and helping the Evolving Wilds to tap for mana as well. They tap down the Orrery for another plus counter on there. Thespian Stage, oh, I didn't even notice that the Dark Depths has come down now. Yeah, I didn't even see the Dark Depths, so there we go, a Marit Lage. And can we deal with Marit Lage? Yes, we can with a Grave Pact. We would quite like... what would we quite like? We'd quite like a sack outlet, wouldn't we? Which we don't have at the moment, but we do have our Korvold, so we can swing in somewhere carefully. Oh, and then 40-40 flying with haste and indestructible. Going in at the Muldrotha player. That's pretty nasty. Yeah, apologies to Jero. Apparently there's a bit of a power difference here. Yeah, that doesn't feel good. It's obviously not necessarily the types of plays that we would go for together, but this player isn't one of the patrons or one of the viewers of the channel, so you kind of have to put up with these things, unfortunately. Demonic Tutor can get us into the last piece that we need to combo off for infinite zombie tokens and infinite death triggers. Don't think we have the mana to do it all though, do we? We'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 for the Grave Titan, and then Nim Deathmantle, and then not enough for Ashnod's Altar and Demonic Tutor. Let's get down the Grave Pact, and we'll force our opponents to sacrifice stuff here. And then we'll try and avenge Jero here. We'll go in at the Teamer player, and we will sacrifice a zombie to force them to get rid of the Marit Lage. And it will make the commander go back into the command zone as well. And then we'll drop ourselves a command tower that we drew into off of the Korvold. And let's see here, do we want to go for Grave Titan? Ready for next turn. We've got 6 mana for Grave Titan next turn. That's 3 and 3, yeah. And then 1, 2 from Demonic Tutor, 3 into Ashnod's Altar, so maybe we just go for Nim Deathmantle in that case. And we can try and keep our Korvold in play. So if someone goes for a board wipe, they've now got the Nim Deathmantle to think about. Legacy Weapon. Exile a target permanent for 5 colours. And if it would be put into the graveyard from anywhere, reveal it and shuffle it. Oh, here we go, a Genesis Ultimatum. Yeah, I've added that to my Maelstrom Wanderer deck. I don't think I've cast it yet though. Let's see what our opponent can get into. Top 5 cards we're looking at. It is a land. Well, there was a land. There's Angrath's Marauders. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage. So that could have been much worse for us. Xenagos going onto this thing, and I always forget if it's haste or trample or what. It is just haste, I think. Yeah, so they may well swing in at the 5 colour player. Probably won't swing into our zombie. We do have another zombie available to us here. But they'll be forced to sacrifice that creature if they kill off one of ours. So yeah, going in at the 5 colour player. They might as well deal some damage because they're going to have to sacrifice that during our combat step most likely. So our opponent leaves it at that. Let's go for the Verdant Catacombs being cracked, and we'll see if we've got a fetch land to go for. Obviously we draw a card off of Korvold as well. Caustic Caterpillar I don't think is going to be of much use to us. Yeah, we'll just go in for the Overgrown Tomb. We've got a lot of green and black in hand. Oh wow, and a Vampiric Tutor as well, so maybe we just go slow on setting up the combo in that case. Let's see, I kind of need to get rid of this, don't I, because they can just pay the 5 colours to get rid of our commander. So why don't we go for the Seal of Primordium, and then we'll see if we can get rid of the Teamer player first of all and try and avenge Jero like I said before. Sacrifice a zombie again, force them to get rid of that thing. We draw a card. And I was actually auto-yielded to Korvold there. We could have put something on the top with Vamp Tutor, but we can do it in response to sacrificing the Seal of Primordium. Let's just see if we can get rid of this player first. Yeah, there we go. So, not the most eventful game, but there's some interesting stuff that's occurred. It's just more one-sided than I would have liked it to be. We'll go in for the Vamp Tutor then. And we will go for the Ashnod's Altar. Sacrifice Seal of Primordium, getting rid of Legacy Weapon. And that obviously draws us into the card that we just tutored for. And then let's get ourselves into a Grave Titan. Can we afford to hold up the Nim Deathmantle? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. No, we can't. So in that case we'll get down the Ashnod's Altar and hope it survives. We can always fish it out with Eternal Witness if needs be, so let's get down Caustic Caterpillar and we can hold up the 4 mana for the Death Mantle. Yeah, because we don't want to sacrifice any more zombies to the Ashnod's Altar than we need to. Vraska, Relic Seeker. Next to the Sol Ring, they've got 2 mana held up. They might have some counter magic or something, but I don't think they can do much of anything. Destroy an artifact, creature or enchantment. They go after the Grave Pact. That has done more than enough this game now. Don't think we need to worry about that. Then cracking the treasure token. There's no kind of exile or anything they can go for because we'll just bring back our Korvold by sacrificing it to Ashnod's Altar and putting the mana into Nim Deathmantle. So our opponent just decided to tap out. Looks as though they see the writing on the wall. And we will attempt to get commander damage off. So I have shown the combo a few times on the channel already, but for any of you that don't know, you go in for Grave Titan or Prosh or Siege Gang Commander, anything that comes in with a couple of tokens, and then you sacrifice one of the Summoning Sick tokens to the Ashnod's Altar. You do the same thing with Grave Titan. Grave Titan will trigger the Nim Deathmantle and you have 4 mana floating thanks to Ashnod's Altar. So you say yes to that and bring back the Grave Titan and you've got infinite power and toughness as well as infinite death triggers on your Korvold. And it's infinite draws as well. So you have to be careful that you don't deck yourself. And there we go, we've drawn into Blood Artist and Goblin Bombardment as well, so if you couldn't swing in for some reason, you can make infinite tokens. We go up a zombie every time we do this, and you could infinitely damage all your opponents, assuming you can target them. Blood Artist drains everyone if you can't target them. So yeah, we've got plenty of answers for doing shenanigans like this in the deck. And obviously if you've got Grave Pact or Dictate of Erebos, then you can keep all the creatures out of play so that you're not going to suffer a swing back from anyone. So where are we now? Yeah, one more round of this and we've got 21 points of commander damage on our opponent. So we'll just sacrifice a couple of zombies. And there we go. We'll let that mana fizzle and swing into our opponent. Big thank you to Sins for playing that out. And apologies to Jero for suffering the wrath of a Marit Lage. But it's just the way it goes when you play against a random sometimes. I'll sacrifice a zombie and draw yet another card. Yeah, I did tell my opponents what I was playing today, and on any other day I think it would have been a fairly even matchup, but we saw Rift, we saw a really good start from the Teamer player, getting into Rhystic Study and Sylvan Library and drawing a boatload of cards. Also getting themselves into a lot of hate because of that, so we were left to our own devices to just slowly ramp. I think in any other game Korvold might receive a lot of hate, but then again so does Muldrotha, so sometimes it's going to go really well for us like this, and sometimes everyone's going to have their eyes firmly locked on us. It just so happens that we were lucky today. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed this Korvold game. Big thank you to the 2 patrons again, the 7 Deadly Sins and Jero. Be sure to thank them in the comments section and leave it a thumbs up and subscribe if you did enjoy it. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.